Welcome, monsters. I make everybody laugh when I do that. Welcome, monsters, to our LinkedIn live session with Jana. And Jana, I always mess up your last name. I'd be like Meron. Correct me this time for the
All of those are
final time.
correct, Meron.
Meron. All right, it's right. Okay. So we're here with Jana. Last time Jana and I connected was in Coronado at Pub Forum in 2023. Remember you came through and we talked
Oh,
about,
yeah.
yeah, we talked about the bloated advertising ecosystem. Yeah, and you dropped some F-bombs, I believe.
I mean, what
Yeah.
happens on stage, Lynn, has to stay on stage. Come on now.
Okay. Okay, that is true. So if you missed that Pub Forum, so sad, too bad. But you can catch Jana at Boston on August 5th. She will be talking about boosting revenue through brand suitability, the Washington Post's innovative approach to brand suitability in news advertising, because Jana is all about saving the news. And we'll dive a little bit into that in a bit. If you have questions for Jana, put it in the comments. I'm not 100% sure that we'll get to them, but if you put them there, we will try to get there. Um, Say hi, because we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. Who's here? Who all is here? Let us know. Give us a shout out. Give Jenna a shout out if you know her very well. Not seeing my comments for some strange reason, but I'll figure that out in a minute on the back end. Jenna, let's dive into this conversation. Um, so the day you posted, I'll be joining the Washington Post as VP of Revenue Operations and Data. The day you posted it, I said to Andrea Larrick, who is our events director, we need to get Jana. But you know what? Then I said, okay, everyone's saying hi now. We can see the comments coming in. Okay, see, I told you, everyone loves you. You see? So as soon as
In a
we saw
second,
that,
my mom's going to type, "Hi, honey, I love you."
that would be great. That would be great. As soon as we saw you post that on LinkedIn, I was like, oh my God, we got to get her Andrea. I said, but you know what? Maybe she won't be ready. So we did not bother the Washington Post. You know what happened? There was someone else we were talking to them about speaking for a breakout session. And they said to us, Jana is with us now. Right. And so, like, it was kismet, right? It was like, yes, it was meant to happen. So, you've been there a couple of months now, right? Not that long, but you have a long history of working, in this field. Can you give us a little background on like what made you know this was the right role for you at this time? Like, yeah.
Yes, of course. So I really like grew up like in ad tech in the news. So the reason that like this takes all the years of my experience, right? 25 years of experience, and gives me the ability to do it all in one place. And I, I'm very concerned about the bloated ad tech ecosystem. And I mean, I even had a call with somebody yesterday where I literally said to them, "Oh my God, you're the ad tech tax." And they were like, "Yeah, we are." They owned it
They
fully.
admitted to it. They admitted
Well,
to
yeah,
it.
because that's what it was. It a necessary evil, but still a thing. And so I see this as an opportunity for me to do the thing I'm most passionate about for a brand that I love, that everybody loves, that wants to endure. And so that is why this was the right time for me.
Right. Because I also came to know you the first time I came to know you. We were doing a webinar. I might say the wrong name. Was someone named Brett McGovern work at Insider with you? Is that the wrong name? Or
That
was he
is,
from
but
Perm?
Oh, no. Well, there was Brett. Yeah, Brett. He works at Penske now. Government.
Okay. Okay. Right. So we did a webinar with someone from Insider, and you were all in the comments. Like, that's how I first came to know you. It's like you are very vocal about the topics that matter to publishers, and you advocate for them all the time. And that's why I like when you and Scott Messer were doing therapy sessions, right? Um,
We
Right, and
still
I
are.
wish that okay, so I like when you and Scott do those therapy sessions because, pups need it. There are a lot of challenges, out there. What are you seeing as the biggest challenges for news right now?
Well, it's really extraordinary to me, and it's something that has really hit home, particularly now during this pivotal time of very important news. Uh, the brand safety measures that people are using and the way in which they are using it is really hurting the news in particular. I know yesterday I was on the site and I just kept going from article to article. They were not inflammatory in any way. This is about the state of our country, the election, whatever's happening. And it took me 3 page views until I could get served an ad that wasn't blocked, all on election coverage, about money being raised, about all of it. And the reality is, this is what people are interested in right now. And this is what they want to know about. And so, why would you avoid reaching them when they're most engaged? But I've always felt this way about news, and I always have felt that way about brand suitability and brand safety. Why on earth would you not want to support the news? This is what people need to use for their everyday lives. I mean, whether it is y- about commuting or the weather or politics or business news, whatever it is, it's important. And not wanting your message to be around it because of the chance that your message would be on something that your audience would disagree with. It's not even necessarily that you as a brand would disagree with. It's more about like, I just don't want to upset anybody by having my ad there. And that part really bugs me.
I mean, we're in an era of cancel culture, so I do
Oh,
get the
don't cancel me
trepidation.
already, Lynn. I just got here.
Not you, but for the brands, I do get why there's some trepidation on their part. But I do have to tell you, I was really discouraged earlier this year when I saw a Prohaska study that said 1 in 3 publishers are, I mean, not publishers, sorry, 1 in 3 advertisers are entirely blocking news. So
Yeah.
not just by keywords, not just by, but just like news as a category altogether. That is very scary.
Yes, it is. And that's like, you know, the entire reason why I'm so passionate about this. Because, I mean, yes, I have been in the media portion of the news business for most of my career, but I don't want people to forget that the media has always been ad funded, right? This is not a new conversation. It's certainly not a new conversation that you've had with me, right? That like soap operas brought to you by P&G. This is not new. What's new about it is that you didn't have to pay $3 at the newsstand or whatever it is. And we made that, we wanted information to be available, but we forgot to tell people that the exchange for that was going to be seeing ads. And we were bad. We did bad things, right? We invaded people's privacy. In that we, you know, retargeted them in ways that made it feel creepy. There's all the walled gardens. All of this stuff has almost nothing to do with ads on a publisher website. But yet people are avoiding it like the plague because they think there hasn't been that explanation of the difference between the two.
Right, right. So it's like antiquated systems and methodologies, and also I would say probably like advertiser education are some of the things that need to happen on one level. I don't want you to go too deep into what you'll be saying in Boston,
No, but
but on
it's on all levels, right? Like we forget that there's turnover and that like things change and not everybody knows everything. And so we as leaders have to like be willing to roll up our sleeves and be like, wait, there's a whole series of things that happened, you know, between 2010 and 2020 that you should probably know about because they will help you understand what's happening in the ecosystem today.
right, right. So I feel like we're getting ready to go too deep down the path of where your session might go. And, we
No.
want people to come to Boston and hear you. But I want to talk to you a little bit more about your background and this role. Given that you have such a rich background in ad tech and data strategy, how do you think that previous experience prepared you for what you'll be doing at the post? And then, first 60 days, brand suitability. I know you're tackling that, brand safety, brand suitability. Are there any other things you can let us into that you might be tackling now? So I asked you a two-part question. I'm sorry. First part,
Yeah.
your background preparing you for the role, and then what other challenges are you diving into?
So, from a background perspective, I started out in the industry as a media buyer when digital was still added value on TV and in print and newspapers and everything. And so, I have really been part of the growing up of the internet as a thing. And I've now worked in TV. I worked in digital display. I worked in digital print because I was part of Google Print Ads,
Mm,
right? I have been part of programmatic, part of data strategy. This is the opportunity for me to bring all of my experience together and put it to use.
right. Okay. And now the other part. Can you shed some light on some other things you might be digging into or that you think are necessary to dig into in the industry right now? I mean, we just had a bombshell hit the other day, some earlier this week. Some publishers are saying, "Woo, reprieve. Yeah, I'm not going after that identity stuff or that first party data stuff because it's never happening." But I don't know. I'm not going to say it. I'll let you say it. How should publishers really be thinking about this Google news? Yeah.
I think it's a giant nothing burger. They're going to still work on the privacy sandbox. They're going to offer users choice, right? We know what happens when you offer users choice. 70% of Apple users do say ask not to track. So we still have to remember that the thing that makes us most valuable to advertisers is our relationship with the consumer. And so that's where collection of first party data comes in. That's where, right, we're able to use that data because they have readily given it to us to make their experiences better. And that also can mean through ads.
Right. Because ads are content as well, right?
That's right.
Ads can ads can enhance the user experience, actually, right? Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
if I'm reading about this thing, that means I'm deeply interested in this thing. So I should be seeing ads that can help me make choices about this thing, right? Does that make sense,
Potentially. I
right?
mean, that is, you know, that is like the end goal, right ad, right person, right place, right content, right. But it's also a mindset thing and attention. There's just so much that's part of it. And so, really, as publishers, we need to be focused on the reader, right? As long as we're focusing on the reader and continuing to offer them a reason to engage with us and be part of our community, the better we'll be able to do for our advertisers.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What keeps you motivated about working in this industry? Like, yeah, what motivates you?
um, I am really, really curious about how stuff works. And I didn't know that until like 10 years ago. Um, that like the inner workings of how ad tech operates and what makes it go to me is like, ooh, I can do something with that. You know, what pieces can I put together to make the right combination? What can I do with the information that I have to better the user experience, to better the advertising? Uh, Sorry, I was just looking at the comments. Very nice.
Yeah, we'll
Uh,
deal with Scott in a second. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. We'll deal with Scott in a second. Go ahead.
well, it wouldn't be a presentation from me if I didn't forget what I was talking about during a sentence because it happens every time. It's how you know I'm really on a roll. So, what was I saying?
Man, you were talking about what motivates you, and you were
Oh,
saying
yes.
that figuring things out, right? Yeah. Mhm.
Figuring things out and learning how they work, and then saying, well, what about this? And what about this? And I'm a questioner. Like everybody probably who's on here knows that I ask an annoying amount of questions. And they're often like, well, why? And why does it need to be that way? And what about that? So double-edged sword, I suppose. But that's what motivates me is I love to learn and figuring this stuff out has been fun. Like I get a sense of personal satisfaction when I'm able to be like, oh, this code can do a different thing. And when it does that thing, it makes more money. That feels good.
Yeah, but sometimes this code can slow down the page.
Yes, it can.
So what do we
Yes, it
do about
can.
that?
We're all working on these things, right? So, I mean, and that's the part. It's like understanding that it's an ecosystem and that, yes, the code may slow down the page. So, what can you do about that? What else on the page can you look at that it might be interacting with and negatively? It's all of the tech has to work together, and that is what figuring this out is, right? Is how do we make the tech work best, most efficiently, providing in a really great user experience.
All right. I see a question here that's more like on the personal side, professional development. People always care about, career development here. There's what books or resources have been influential in shaping your professional outlook? So even if it's not books, websites, courses, anything that has helped shape your outlook, your professional outlook.
So uh I I read all the trades all the time. Like it I used to spend the first 3 hours of every day reading what was happening so that I could figure out what to do next. Um, so for me, Ad Monsters, Ad Exchanger, Digiday, Adweek, Ad Age, Synopsis, right? Then there's other, the rebooting and marketecture and like really, and then there's also all of the articles that people like Scott put on LinkedIn. Um, and I I'm a voracious reader and questioner of things. And so for me, it's less about the books and more about listening to what's happening in the market to help inform what I need to learn about next.
Right. Um, yeah, Scott does post a lot of articles that are helpful. He's helped me brainstorm some great ideas.
Me
Um,
too.
yes. What advice, there's another question here. What advice would you give to young professionals looking to carve out a career in digital media and ad tech? Like, Someone's looking to be the next Jana. Where do they start?
Be curious. Being curious, asking, not being afraid to ask questions, and not being afraid to give your opinion, even if it's not popular. As long as you have some reasoning that makes sense, some logic, then you should be able to explain why you believe whatever it is your opinion is. I learned this lesson a little early-ish in my career. I was in a meeting. It was a very serious meeting, and the leader had just told somebody in the room that they were uh, that they were dumb. They were like, "That is the dumbest idea I ever heard." And I sort of made a face like you did. And this person, who I love, by the way, and mostly I love him for this moment. And that is, I made a face. He saw my face and he said, "Jana, do you disagree with me?" And I was like, "I do." And he said, "Well, if you can explain to me why I'm wrong, then I will change my mind." And so I pulled up my big girl pants and I mean, this guy was significantly more senior than me. And I said, "Okay, here it is. Here is why I disagree with you." And he listened to me and he thought about it and he said, "Okay, you're right. I changed my mind." And that for me was the moment where I was like, "Oh, wait, it's okay to be curious. It's okay, like, to have an opinion."
An unpopular opinion, even, as you said. And I think so. I think the takeaway there is even more, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid. Like, I think the saying always is, the old adage is, there are no stupid questions, right? Right? There are no stupid questions. I
No.
see there's another question here that's a good one. What about how mentorship relates to career growth? Like, how important was that important in your development? Um, or do you mentor others in the industry? Can you talk to that a little bit? And for a young person in their career looking to advance, should they be looking for mentors?
So, I it's a funny question because mentorship in the when I first started out in my career wasn't really a thing. Mentorship became a thing much later on, um, for me, in my experiences. That's not to say it didn't exist everywhere. My experiences, um, and so I really like had to figure a lot of this out on my own. And it's one of the things I actually love so much about the digital ad tech community is that all of us have figured a lot of this stuff out together. And so we are each other's mentors and we are, right? Because we've all been figuring this thing out together. And now I see it as a responsibility, as my responsibility as a leader, to be willing to roll up my sleeves and teach everybody all of the things that I have learned over the last 25 years, if they can be beneficial to whatever it is we're trying to solve. So from my perspective, I see mentorship as teaching and guiding and asking more annoying questions, you know, why, how come, why do you think that? Do you want it to be that way? Um, so I think it's incredibly important, and you're super lucky if you have one, and you're super lucky if you get to meet the wonderful, uh, kill him, uh,
Yes.
because he knows I do. So, uh, yeah. Yes, Scott, I have plenty of advice
So,
for
you
new
know what?
parents.
To address Scott's question, how can women find work-life balance and like, this is a tech field. Like, I remember, someone who used to be, a lead at Meta, Facebook, wrote a book called Leaning In or Lean In. I forgot the exact title of it. You know the book I'm talking about, right? Like, yes, women can have it all. Um, what do you think of that? Like being a mom, being married, being, you know, which, nowadays dads do play a lot more role in raising kids. But, even for moms, for women who don't have families, like how do women balance, because even sometimes work environments can be toxic for women, especially sometimes in, these kinds of spaces. Um, how do women survive? How do they balance, you know, all the things they need to balance? What are some of your thoughts on that? Or how have you done it?
Poorly. Uh, the balance thing is interesting because when your kids are little and they're babies, right, your job is to keep them alive. That's really kind of it. For at least 6 years, you just have to make sure they're fed. Maybe they learn how to share. But, like, right after that, then it gets to the hard stuff where you're teaching them how to be good human beings. And so I always felt that it was more important for me to be available to my children when they were older than when they were younger. And so I was okay going on the road, all the time. And because I knew that I was going to be there for them. And then the pandemic happened, and my kids were like tweens, just new tweens and teens. And I literally watched them go, over the next 3 years grow up. And I feel so lucky that I got to be there for that because they did need me. And even after the pandemic ended, they needed me to be around middle school, high school, all of those things. And then when I was ready to take a job again, they were too. And so it's really understanding what is most important for your life at whatever time. And it's going to change, right? So when my kids were really little, I didn't travel at all. I chose not to, and so the thing about balance is understanding when, like, how, what you need at any given point in time that will create balance for you. Sometimes working is the balance you need because you need the money or whatever it is, right? So balance is about fulfilling what you need to be happy.
That makes a lot of sense. So women can have it all with caveats. Yeah, yeah, no,
I think
yes.
defining what all means, right? Sure. If you ask, it seems like I have it all. I'm happily married. I have two beautiful children. I have a great job, right? Sure. But was it always this way? Definitely not. Like, this moment in time is very good. Ask me about 2 years ago or 6 years ago, or, it's not always quite that easy.
Right.
And so you
So
have
it
to
just
just understand which phase you're in and what needs to give, right? You have to make the decision for yourself as a human being what needs to give when it's too much.
right, right. Yeah, I didn't really want to go the gender route. I was trying to avoid it, but Scott
It's
put it
not
out
about
there.
gender. It's really not about gender. It's really about understanding how to serve yourself and all the people who need you.
Yeah, I hear that. So we hit the hour. We're at the top of the hour. I have one more question for you before we close off. What trends or technologies, trends are you excited about for the future of digital media and ad tech? Is there anything in specific that you're excited about?
Yes, I mean, I'm always excited about first party data and what we can do with it and how we can use it to model and make better experiences. It is, I mean, it's my passion.
All right, thank you for that. I am sharing some slides, Jana, before you leave. Come check out Jana's keynote in Boston. The keynote is boosting revenue through brand suitability. Hit me up at Lynne, Lynne, at AdMonsters.com, and I can get you all the information you need if you would like to join us in Boston. Look who's coming. We have top and very diverse publishers all joining us in Boston. You should come join us too. And then in November, we will be in Scottsdale. We are already lining up speakers. If you are interested in speaking, or you're interested in coming, please, again, you can hit me up. You can flood my inbox. I will not mind. Lynne at admonsters.com. Or as some people know, you can always hit up my DMs on LinkedIn. I'll probably respond there a lot quicker than on email. Jana, do you have any parting words for us before we sign out?
Can't wait to see you all in Boston.
All right. We'll see you there. Thank you, everyone, for joining.